Logan is out rocking his 90s look. Here's your look at the new Hasbro Marvel Legends series X-Men 97 Wolverine. Bring the excitement and wonder of the Marvel Universe to your collection with the Hasbro Marvel Legends Wolverine and other X-Men figures. This collectible 6-inch scale action figure is detailed to look like Wolverine from the Marvel Studios X-Men 97. Wolverine Marvel Legends figure is fully articulated with premium design and posable head, arms, and legs. The Marvel action figure comes with 4 accessories. Hasbro Marvel action figure 6-inch scale make them great for posing and displaying in fans' collections. Now, I know looking at Marvel Legends on this channel seems few and far between, but that's going to be changing in the next several videos, of course, as we have a look at the entire lineup of the new X-Men 97 figures. I figured we would start things first with the smallest of the group, that being Wolverine. And of course, as we look at the other figures, I'll be bringing those in for comparison's sake. But first, let's grab the tape measure and see how tall Wolverine stands. You won't be getting Hugh Jackman-size Wolverine this time around. Actually, the figure is closer to being more about 5 3/4 inches in height, or it's going to be about 14 centimeters tall. All the expected accessories will come include this X-Men member. Wolverine comes included with a swappable head sculpt. He comes with the folded down cowl piece if you want to have him displayed with the unmasked head like I have right now. And the figure also comes with a pair of interchangeable hands if you don't prefer the adamantium ones that he has right now. Starting first, of course, the figure comes included, like those already mentioned, the hands. The hands are basically closed fist versions of the existing hands that he has. Now, we have gotten Wolverines in the past where they usually have had retractable or removable blades that go onto the end of them. I never really like those because they're always prone to falling off. If given the chance, I would much rather just have closed fists myself, and then give me the option then available of having to pop the hands out and replace them if I want to have the adamantium claws instead. Changing out the hands is actually quite easy, just simply holding on. Now, these are a fairly thin plastic, so you want to make sure you're, of course, putting pressure against those. Reaching around to the wrist area, you're just going to remove the hand from the forearm. Just pop it off like that. And then you're going to find the hand. Of course, thumbsies go in whether you got mutant healing or not. And then you're just going to pop the new hand in. So again, if you wanted to, you can have Wolverine displayed with or without the adamantium claws. Or hey, why not? You can mix and match them. Again, one of the benefits, I suppose, of having removable blades, you can choose for yourself how many blades you want to have extended out. But I'd much rather just have removable hands. Just don't even have the worry of the blades popping off or losing them somewhere. So it comes included with those. I think for right now, at least, what I will do is I'm just going to pop all of that work and all that time of talking about them. I'm just going to pop the original hands back in place because I just like the longer extended claws myself. The figure, while having this look right now, which is of course the unmasked portrait, Wolverine being slightly smaller in stature, doesn't certainly make for a smaller statured sculpted figure. The figure actually looks quite good. Not really my favorite of the two looks. I would much prefer to have Wolverine with the full cowl piece over top of his head. But there's no denying the fact that Hasbro really upped their game when it came to the new 97 released X-Men figures, because Wolverine looks really quite good. The paint is top notch. There's not really a section that I can see, at least, where I would say, like, okay, here's a problem with paint. There's something that's off on the striping, for example. Or even maybe like the shoulder pads, for example, aren't quite colored accurately. No, from like head to toe, the paint is really meticulously handled here. And the head sculpt again on this one, being the unmasked head sculpt at least, that's a good looking Wolverine. Of course, this is the Wolverine with the higher hair on the sides. He's got the big mutton chops there also on the side. And I do like the scowling face that they've given him. He doesn't seem to be sporting a smile, and I can't really imagine Wolverine sporting a smile either. But if you want to go with this head sculpt, to go along with that, you also get the cowl piece that's folded down. If you want to have the mask folded down, of course, like he's just peeled it off his face, just easily go ahead and remove the head from the provided ball joint. Then you're going to take this piece right here, which reminds me actually of the old Toy Biz X-Men Wolverine that I had a long time ago. I ordered at Consumers Distributing. Anybody remember Consumers Distributing? Well, the mask also served as well to be a ring. You can kind of wear it as a ring. I guess you could kind of wear it as a ring, but it's not going to fit all the way down there. Maybe on a pinky. I don't know. Either way, though, let's not get silly. Just going to put that over top now that the head is removed, and we're going to just pop the original head back in place. You want to just kind of make sure that this is folded down well enough, and now you can have Wolverine looking as if he's pulled the mask back. Always a nice included touch. I always like when they do that with Wolverine figures. Looks good too. Like the plastic isn't 100% matching. You can kind of see like if I was to nitpick this figure at all, it would really be only just the fact that some of the yellows don't quite jive with one another. The section in the middle certainly seems more like the part that's been painted. Whereas the sides, sections on the sides, or could also even be the other way around. The sections on the sides are the sides that are painted. How many times have I just said sides? But like all the yellows don't quite match 100%, but they're pretty close though. Now, of course, if you did want to change him out for the more masked portrait of Wolverine, we're just going to go ahead and just hold on to this. You want to make sure, of course, that's not going to fall on the floor. We're going to remove this because obviously he's not going to be wearing his mask and have this. That would be ridiculous. And then we're going to replace it with I feel to be the better of the two. Now, the head easily fits onto a very large ball joint, but at least the socket's big enough as well. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure, maybe a little bit more pressure I was expecting to put on. There we go. And we can pop in then what I feel to be the better of the two. And just to show you the difference between the two. I've always really liked Wolverine more sporting his mask myself. But I'm really, again, happy with how this one did turn out. I might even be tempted to the idea of actually picking up a second batch of these. You know, in fact, actually, I was disappointed even opening up the packaging. The packaging is almost just too good for these figures to be opening up. But I would probably be tempted to get myself a second set of these to keep them still sealed on card. Anyways, we do have Wolverine now with his Masthead. Now, again, like it looks really good for Wolverine. There are, of course, some very obvious areas you can see here on the front. They've painted this in yellow as best they could. The yellow, while being somewhat centered, isn't quite the same yellow they have clearly for the top of his head. Might be the case where they've actually painted the ears in black, and they had to then paint this section here in yellow. Again, like the yellow is the one thing that the only detractor on the figure is the fact that the yellow doesn't in some of the areas really do match up. So like it does stand a little bit more here that he has to have such a bright area of his nose. But again, like other than that, I'm really, really happy with how this one turned out. Now, this is using, again, the new pinless bodies. So essentially, there's the articulation points where all they would normally be, but that you don't have the actual little pins, the pegs that actually go in there, attach the arms together. So he has all the basically a seamless body from head to toe. And the colors are so richly handled here for Wolverine. Overlooking the very obvious of the yellow being not quite right. The blues, I really like the choice of blues that they went with here for both his shoulder pads. Of course, his gloves there is also as well. And also the sections for his boots. There are a few little areas, like, again, if you were to look at the molding of the plastic, for example, in the hand of the glove, for example, and you see the section on his forearm where clearly it's been painted, it's close enough. It's maybe not as jarring, for example, as, say, the yellow, but you can clearly see there are some areas that are molded in the plastic and other areas that are just painted over top of the existing plastic. Wolverine has himself some arm hair. I'm kind of glad that they didn't take the time to paint the arm hair. I feel like that would make things a little too busy. More just the suggestion of the sculpting is enough for me. But yeah, again, like being a slightly smaller Wolverine, like Wolverine for me is always going to be like the little small berserker. I don't really want him to have a Hugh Jackman size to him. And then again, this is a really good looking Wolverine. The articulation on this guy, we start first, of course, with his head sculpt. It's on a ball joint, so it's going to allow the head to rotate all the way around. Not only is there the ball joint that works there, but also to work along with the ball joint, there's also a hinge there for his neck. So it allows the head to also hinge further down and further back as well if you want to have him more in a running pose. Now the arms are rather interesting. The way they've attached the shoulders are hinged at the top here by, I don't know if you guys can actually see it, on the side and either side of his shoulders, they're actually pinned in place. So it allows the arms to actually hinge outward, or at least bring the shoulder pads outward if you want to bring his arms out like this. He gets about a 90-degree angle bend. Actually, this arm's a little tighter than this arm here. With this arm being the looser of the two, you can kind of see like he gets about a 90-degree angle bend. You can take those same arms, and he also has a crunch. So you can bring those either further back, for example, if you want to have him kind of, again, in a running pose. You can bring his head up like that. Oh, like that looks good. You can do it like that, for example. Or you can also as well bring those arms inward, too, almost like he's flexing. The arms themselves also do have a bicep swivel. You can rotate them all the way around. Again, going back to the paint if I can for a second, I've really liked the choice of the colors that they went with. Yellow is a little questionable, but the coloring of his skin tone, for example, not to again mention the coloring of the blue, looks really good on this figure. Paint is really, really well done on this figure. The figure does also have a double hinge on his elbow, and even though he does have quite a large bicep and an equally large tricep, Wolverine can still bend his arm beyond the point of 90 degrees. The hands as well rotate all the way around. You can hinge them also back and forth. The figure has an upper torso crunch, so you can bend it back and forth. You can have a little bit lunging back Wolverine, or you can also have, again, him kind of leaning forward, again, as he's running. You can also rotate the waist. And again, getting to the lower end of the legs, actually, there was one section I didn't really say for Wolverine, but I have to draw the attention to the fact that, unfortunately, Wolverine's sporting a rather small package. Okay, that's all I'm going to really say for that. The belt is really close to also that area draws more to the attention to the idea that he doesn't really have a whole lot going on downstairs. Figure does have, at least from the downstairs standpoint, he does have a ball joint on his legs, so you can split his legs about that far. You can bring the legs forward, bring them back, and 3/4 of the way up the thigh, he has a swivel cut, so you can rotate that all the way around. The figure has a double hinge on the knee. Articulation as well for the boots, and not only that, but you can also move the feet back and forth this way and rock them back and forth this way. And again, you've got that nice new pinless system that they've devised for their Marvel Legends releases. All in all, it's a good looking Wolverine. I have collected Wolverines in the past. I've reviewed Wolverines in the past, but I think of the ones that we've reviewed, this might be my favorite. The only thing again about it is, well, it's a smaller stature Wolverine, which I feel like that's the way Wolverine should always be. Not tall, not like, 6 feet tall. Wolverine should just be clearing only 5 feet. But I like the use of the colors. And, again, like the yellows aren't quite 100% matching. You can kind of see, for example, like the top of his torso isn't quite jiving with, for example, his abdomen area, and his colors in his legs, for example, are clearly more molded in yellow than painted in yellow. But the blues are richly handled here. The red in the belt looks really good. And again, whether you decide to go with this head sculpt, or you want to go with, say, what we started with, the unmasked head sculpt, it's quite a good looking Wolverine if you get the chance to grab one for yourself. While maybe not mentioning it earlier, I'll certainly mention it now. Wolverine and the rest of the 97 cast of X-Men characters all possess peg holes in the undersides of their boots. In other words, while they don't unfortunately come included with their own display stands, they are using the same diameter size pegs as other companies that are making figure stands for their figures. In other words, if it does come in black, like the black display stand I'm currently using for right now for Wolverine, it means that you can at least have the figure posed in some crazier poses than just simply museum standing them. Museum standing figures can get a little boring real fast if you'd much rather have the figure, because with all the posability that these figures do possess, you like to make the most use out of that, those articulation points. So again, you can use a display stand from another figure company instead. I will be displaying Wolverine pretty much as you're seeing right now, in a more running pose, looking like he's running towards combat, a big war that he's going to be fighting in, whether it's Sentinels or maybe other mutants. Either way, Wolverine looks fantastic as a figure. As already mentioned, yeah, some of the yellow doesn't quite match up in some of the places, but the rest of the blue and the red, and not to mention the sculpting that they put to the piece in the first place, I'm glad I did start these series of reviews with Wolverine. Wolverine and I feel Gambit are going to be my favorites of what we will be looking at, of what, the 6 figures, and, well, of course, 5 new figure reviews coming up after the Wolverine one here. But, of course, we will be all looking at those in some separate standalone videos. So certainly if you guys would like to stick around for more, first of all, if you guys enjoyed this video, I want to hit with a like. But if you guys are on board to see the rest of the 97 X-Men figures, then if you haven't already done so, and you're, let's say, new, maybe the first time you're coming onto this channel, and first time being experienced the one of over 10,000 videos that the guy behind the camera's been posting here for the last over a decade or so. If you are new here and you want to stick around for more, thank you for that, by the way, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and you're turning on the bell notification. As already mentioned, we will be looking at the rest of the X-Men figures, so of course making sure you're keeping your peepers peeled to that. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.